It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Welcome to Slumberland at the Lake for another cup of coffee with Wild Will and Uncle Chris. And Chris, I put on my long sleeves this morning.
Yep.
Not only is it cold, I also noticed on the way in today, fall colors starting to break, baby.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I almost wore my Hawaiian shirt, because it's just in between. We're still getting sunshine, but it's cold. It would have been the last, but I got shamed out of it by my wife, so I did put this on instead.
Shame on you, Mrs. Uncle C.
I know. That's what I have to put up with all the time, right?
So we do got to tell people that may not get to the lake this time of year. You got to do it. I mean, a lot of people say this as the season's transitioning to the off season. No, I love the fall, early winter here at Lake of the Ozarks.
I do too, and you know what we've found since we've lived here full time? We love winter. It is beautiful here in the winter. It's a different kind of beauty, obviously, but it is so gorgeous around the Lake of the Ozarks in the winter with the leaves down. You don't have a bad time of the year here.
Yeah, and for as crazy as it's getting around the world, seems to get crazier every single day. Still kind of like a little slice of paradise in its own little box down here at Lake of the Ozarks, and it was a big weekend. The Apple Fest took place. That was pretty cool, but also someone won $100,000 for catching one fish.
I know it wasn't me, because that's about all I've caught in my life is one fish.
Yeah, no, that wasn't me, but we had some big winners from the annual Fall Big Bass Bash. We're going to tell you all about that. Plus, the toll bridge, we've heard murmurings and people have asked, when is that darn thing going to be paid off? Isn't it paid off already?
There's some big news coming on that, right?
We might have a break for that story. Plus, Lake favorite Mike Kanega, he served in many capacities, most recently with the Lake Ozark Marine Dealers Association, set to retire. He announces that, so we'll tell you about that, plus look at football. Man, wasn't a great football weekend.
No, it was. My picks were terrible again. Absolutely horrible.
Plus, I was like 30 points worse than you. I don't want to talk about it. Plus, resurfacing project began this week right here in Morgan County and the surrounding areas. We'll tell you about that and a whole lot more. But first, what's going on here at Slumberland at the Lake?
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. It's fall here in the Ozarks, and fall means football. What do you need for football but a great recliner to chill out, relax, and watch the big game? Right here at Slumberland, we're having our big fall sale. Come check it out. 36 months interest-free financing. Don't forget we deliver the entire lake area. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
All right, so the fall in-home sale. Make sure you come by and check out all the awesome deals. All right, so our first local story, something we've talked about getting involved in, have not. It's the AFTCO $100,000 Big Bass Bash presented by Midway USA and powered by Phoenix Boats. They do it twice a year. They do the spring Big Bass Bash and they do the fall Big Bass Bash, and it's an amateur tournament, meaning you're not allowed to be a professional, and you put your name in the cap, you pay to get in the tournament. You can go many different places across the lake, and then whoever gets the largest fish over the 2 days wins $100,000. Pretty cool concept, and it was a pretty great weekend for the Midwest fishing tournaments and anglers in action. They said, what a weekend it was. Thank you to all of our sponsors, anglers, our fantastic staff. But more importantly, congratulations to Chris Hooch Dunn of Heddick, Illinois. He held on to the lead Sunday, and he took home the $100,000 check. And he caught that fish on a chatterbait just a couple coves down from the Point Randall Resort weigh-in station. That's pretty incredible. $100,000 for catching one fish.
How big was the fish?
That's of course.
Does it say? It doesn't say.
Probably the most important information I, of course, didn't ask. That. But you see right there the picture of him. That was the first place fish with Chris Hooch Dunn. Again, his weigh-in station was Point Randall Resort. Second place, $20,000 winner, Carl Welshmeyer from Lynn, Missouri. He weighed in at Alhana Resort. Third place, $10,000. I'd still take that, right?
Shoot, yeah.
Chad Dick from Baldwin, Kansas, and he weighed in at Red Oak Resort weigh-in, not far from you.
Yeah.
You know, that was
close.
your weigh-in. That was your fish to catch.
That was mine. That fish kept getting away from me.
And
I
then-
had him and it fell off the hook, man.
So Chad, you Uncle Sia, a little cut there. And then Wayne Fisher from Climax Springs also weighed in at Red Oak Resort weigh-in. He took home $5,000. And first place for the ladies, $1,000 goes to Jessica Webb from Martinsburg, Missouri. Pretty awesome. 3,625 total anglers.
Wow.
Chris,
Wow.
113 kids. And big shout out to Randy, Diane, Charlie, and Sherry Terrell. They own and kind of operate that fishing tournament with Big Al, Midwest Fishing Anglers in Action, and the Big Bass Bash. Big shout out to Midway USA, Black Rain Ordnance, AFTCO, and Phoenix Boats, as well as, like I said, Midway USA. I talked with Big Al with the Big Bass Bash. He said, great event. We're really excited. And they're looking at growing the event. We're actually talking on some partnering and maybe even bringing you part of the Big Bass Bash.
That'd be great.
Live on Lake TV moving forward. So hopefully we've got some news. But just an incredible event. And again, it happens twice. This is the fall. It'll happen again in April for the spring Big Bass Bash. So start getting ready for that, right? I mean, that's pretty incredible that you catch one fish. And on top of the cash prizes, they also gave away a $45,000 519 Phoenix, which is a 19-foot Phoenix fishing boat with a 150 horsepower motor, Chris. $45,000 value. And the guy that won that, Bud Bricky from Belgrade, Missouri, and they have on their Facebook page, they call him live in their stream and kind of play with the guy a little bit, that they found his truck, broke down on the side of the road, and he ends up winning it. And apparently this guy's been doing it for a long time, and he was very deserving. So such a cool event. I mean, I'm looking at it. It's about $200,000 in prizes, cash, given away in one day, 2-day weekend anyway. What a cool event, and I'm still not sure why you and I have yet to fish in the Big Bass Bash.
We need to jump in on that, man, that's for sure. And there's some great stories. There'll probably be a great story come out about how the guy caught the biggest fish of this tournament. But remember back in the spring, it was like some dude, has like a 15 horsepower motor. First cast, he pulls in the big fish that wins the tournament. And then he got caught in the rain, trying to get in to weigh it and everything. So many great stories from these fishing tournaments every year, spring and fall. And it's so great to have them do it right here at the lake. But there were a ton of people out on the water fishing over the weekend. I'm telling you, you could almost walk across the lake on the boats that were out there. It was very impressive.
And one thing worth noting, unless you are engaged in that realm and you're into fishing and stuff, you don't realize the impact it has on the lake. And the nice thing is, it's not just during what we consider season from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It's 12 months of the year you can fish, and there's events here. And listen, when people come to the lake to fish, they typically haul a boat with them.
Yep.
They typically bring their friends and family.
Yep.
They typically sleep somewhere. They eat somewhere. They buy some stuff. They attend a concert. So it's a great financial driver for our area. And I'll tell you, there's nothing bigger that takes place at the lake fishing-wise in the Big Bass Bash. So we'll look forward to the spring Big Bass Bash. I'll see if I can't convince Uncle Chris to teach me how to fish, because that's something I don't do, I haven't done, and I am no good at.
Well, I'll have to first find somebody to teach me how to fish.
Let's get Marvelous Marvin, man.
Oh, they know how to fish. Him and his wife, Jackie, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Lake TV sales manager Marvin St. John and his wife Jackie, because they're like world-renowned fishermen.
Oh, they're out there all the time, man. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. They've given me like bags of crappie before because they just have too much, right?
I love it.
Love it. Yeah, it's
Tell them
great.
I want to get on that list, hopefully ahead of Uncle.
No.
You probably got plenty.
No, we eat it like right away, man. It's greatness.
All right, now something else that, as we move ahead, something else we both share. We go over that toll bridge a lot.
Yeah.
And as you guys know, during the season, it's $3 every time you go over, and it's $2 in the off season, and it adds up. And so before I break into this story, I wanted to kind of look at the toll bridge and the history just a little bit, because for those of you that are new to the area or watching from afar, you might not know exactly what we're talking about. But in 1990, the Missouri Transportation Corporation Act became law. That created a challenge for the Lake of the Ozarks area. They needed to build a bridge across the lake to connect the two sides. Now, the east side of the lake is the means for St. Louis area, that part of the country, whereas the west side they considered the means for the Kansas City side or visitors. An obvious solution to this was to finance such an undertaking, and so at such time in 1992, the Lake of the Ozarks Community Bridge Corporation was formed. Back in 92, believe it or not.
Wow.
In 96, construction began, and on May 1st, 1998, the bridge was officially dedicated. Now, fast forward to 2012, Lake of the Ozarks Community Bridge Corporation was restructured, and the community bridge ownership and operation was assumed by the Lake of the Ozarks Community Bridge Transportation Development District. That's a mouthful, right? Which is still the case today. They have approximately 15 employees, and they're governed by a board of directors. Now, today the bridge remains a paid toll bridge, and locals have often asked the question, when will that toll go away?
Yeah.
Well, we seem to be getting getting an answer that might be closer than you might think. Now, KRMS had a story on last Thursday, October 5th. They had a couple of officials on their morning magazine, and looks like it's going to be coming soon. Now, the initial bond maturity date, Chris, was in 2026, meaning that the money it costs to start the project. However, after speaking to toll bridge officials on Monday, they're actually projecting an early payoff of that $43 million bond. Now, that was initially needed to finance the planning, development, and construction of the bridge. And that's why we pay that toll, right? To pay that back. That amount could be paid off early, they're telling me, but I said, how early? So I went back and listened to their interview on KRMS Thursday, and officials said, we've always targeted 2026. Well, with the improved economy first, and then the bump that we got down here with the COVID quarantine mandates, that was a windfall for a lot of the industries down here, and that included the toll bridge. So they're projecting spring 2024 as early as April or May of next year. So you'd be looking at 5, 6, 7 months down the road, and a realistic should be done by this date is summer of 2024. So we're less than a year away based on these projections after speaking to toll bridge officials. Now, officials say they have spoken to their employees, and that realistic projection of spring to summer 24 is the date they're giving their staff as well. Now, if all came to fruition at the time that the bridge was paid off or those funds were available, the bridge would then pay the bonds back in full and turn over any remaining assets, ownership, and control to the third party, which is MoDOT, and they would presumably probably tear down that toll. I mean, MoDOT would be in control of that. They'd probably remove that toll, probably widen the roads a little bit, add some landscaping, things of that nature. I mean, among many other possibilities. But the cool thing is, as early as April or May of next year, we get to stop paying that toll.
Wow.
And on a latter date, like summer.
Wow.
And this is just as long as they don't have any unforeseeable things take place, of course, with the new COVID or whatever you call it, spike it back up. Things happen. 2008 market crash, with where the world's at. A wide variety of things could happen, but this is really cool. Another thing is, let's say that you pay in advance, like annually, or you pay on your card like we do at Lake TV. They are going to refund any remaining credit that you've got with a toll bridge. So they're asking that anybody with cards make sure that you have an updated address with the Lake of the Ozarks Community Bridge, because they'll be issuing those refunds when that comes to fruition. But how cool is that?
I'm excited, man. It'll be great not having to pay every time you go across that bridge. That'll be fantastic. And have it done early, how incredibly cool is that?
And speaking with officials, it's illegal, or there's something in the Missouri Constitution that does not allow paid tollways or bridges in Missouri. This was like an exception to the rule, but it was a non-for-profit, meaning it was to fund the project. I think that's why it was an exception. But to their knowledge, there's never been a bonded or TIF project like this that has been paid back early and come to fruition and transferred power, with the exception of one in Kansas City. So this is a rarity, a toll bridge like this in Missouri, and the fact that they're projecting by 26 and it could be paid off early, because I remember over the last couple of years, people started to say, it should already be paid off, they promised by this date, and it does seem like there was a lot of confusion. So
I remember those, and I was even part of that. It's like, well, they pushed it back to 2026. Apparently not. That was always the time that it was supposed to be paid in full. But wow, if we can get that done early, that's incredible.
Correct. So that's going to be pretty cool. All right. So in other local news, well-loved and guy has been instrumental in a lot of different sectors, Lake West Chamber of Commerce, and of course, for a while now at the Lake Ozark Marine Dealers Association, their executive director, Mike Carnegie, officially announces his retirement from Lake Expo. Carnegie, the executive director of Lambda, has announced his retirement. He sent a letter to members on Thursday, October 5th, and he plans on retiring effective June 30th, 2024. So he's staying until after the busy boat show season has come to an end. Now, if you're wondering what's Lambda, the Lake of the Ozarks Marine Dealers Association, it has about 80 members ranging from boat dealers to insurance companies to media organizations, and is among the more influential business organizations here at the lake. They put on those 4 annual boat shows that bring tens of thousands of boaters to shop for boats and accessories throughout the year. Of course, if you go to Lake Expo, you can see those upcoming dates, but they always do the Overland Park Boat Show in February or late January, the St. Charles Boat Show late February, early March, Spring in Water in April down here, and then the Captain Ron's in Water in September. So those 4 shows they always put on, and Carnegie's been their executive director for the last 11 years. And in his retirement announcement, he wrote, "It was a privilege. I truly enjoyed my time, and I've made many lifelong friends throughout the years, and have always enjoyed talking and getting to know each and every one of you." And Chris, I remembered him before I worked with Lake TV. He was the executive director for the Lake West Area Chamber of Commerce. And of course, with my family having Chances Are, I knew him through that. And then, of course, many years working with him through Lambda and the boat show. Pretty great. And I asked a few of his peers and friends what they had to say. And as you could see here, Mark Mawson, who is the president of Lambda and the owner of Polylift Boat Lifts. Mike's been an amazing asset to the Marine Dealers Association, and he'll be greatly missed. He is leaving huge shoes to fill because of his dedication to the association and being incredibly organized. And then Roger Hewlett, who's the marketing director for Lambda, says, "I've worked with Mike for his entire career as the executive director, and I've admired his attention for detail and his ability to put all of the puzzle pieces together while maintaining a calm head." And then, of course, Greg Surdike, a member of Lambda and owner of Surdike Yamaha, said, "With the wide variety of headstrong dealers, I can't think of anyone that could keep us moving, anyone better to keep us moving forward with tons of association success. I'm sure everyone would love to hire him, but he already turned down $1 million signing bonus from me, so I'm sure he's looking forward to his retirement." Craig Surdike. But congratulations to our friend Mike Carnegie, and many years of service, not just with Lambda, but the Lake West Chamber of Commerce, and then did a lot when he transitioned out of that role to help new staff members. So great guy, loved by everyone here at the lake. So of course he's still here till the end of June of next year, so we got to make sure that we keep him busy till then. But congratulations to Mike Carnegie.
You know, and it's one of those things where sometimes the people that do the best jobs are the people you don't notice, kind of like a good referee. You know, you never, the best referees you never notice, you know, because they're doing it really well behind the scenes. And he kind of operated that way. And I think Greg Surdike is exactly right. You're dealing with multi-millionaires, and 80 of them all at once, and to get them to all go in the same direction and agree on things is almost miraculous. And he was able to do that year after year.
Yeah, and he's a great guy, and like I said, he's loved by so many, and a true challenge. However, I wouldn't say that, man, we were almost part of the Marine Dealers Association for a little bit. You don't have multi-millions of dollars just because you're in that. I'm sure some of those boat dealers have that money. But I know a few that are going to see this and be like, "Whoa, thanks, Uncle C.
Where's my multi-millions?" Yeah.
So as we end that, we now move our attention to football. Still reeling a little bit after this weekend. It started with the Mizzou loss against LSU on Saturday. Did you watch the game?
I watched parts of the game, and in the first half they were doing so well. Had the lead throughout the entire first half. Second half was a different story. LSU comes back and kind of dominated in the second half. But you were at the game, right? Was it like great atmosphere?
Oh, it was an electric atmosphere, and it was disheartening because you did have the early lead, 22-7, and felt like, man, we really are going to win this.
Yeah.
But LSU is a really good team. They had already lost 2 games. They did not want to lose again after losing to Ole Miss. They made adjustments that we failed to do. But we got to put this in perspective, Missouri fans, because here just 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting here calling for Elijah Drinkowitz's head. We get done with the North Dakota State game, and I'm thinking it's going to be a long season. We're sitting here at 5-1, headed down to Lexington this weekend with a realistic shot to be competitive and win that game. Brady Cook, a solid game. His interceptionless streak ended.
Yep.
Kind of glad though. It's a lot of pressure.
Kind of takes the pressure off, absolutely. But that's a tough thing about being in the SEC conference. Almost every week is a really tough game. So you just get done with LSU and you got to take on a top 25 Kentucky team that's really, really, really good too. That's a tough conference.
Oh, Missouri's got their work cut out for them the rest of the way. As I told you, Brady Cook, that streak ended. But hey, he's still 3rd in yards in the SEC, 2nd in touchdown passes and QBR. Luther Burden, another massive game.
Man, that guy's incredible.
We going to just say he's the best wide receiver in the nation?
Maybe so, yeah.
I mean, as a sophomore, he leads the country in catches, in yards, and yards per game. He had 11 catches for $149. And there's times he gets the football. It doesn't matter who's around him. It doesn't matter how good the defense is. He is just like a freak of nature out there on the field. And
you're tight with him, right? You're buddies. He comes over, stays at the Holtz His Owl,
I definitely wouldn't say that. He has looked in my general direction a couple of times, and I have got to be around him. But just an amazing, and then, of course, Cody Schrader having a great year. 13 rushes, $114, and 3 scores. The Division II, story that I just love. He's 2nd in the SEC in yards and touchdowns.
Wow.
So as we look at their schedule real quick, you said, we go to Kentucky, who's ranked, and they lost tough down in Athens on Saturday.
Georgia killed them, yeah.
And that's what you have. It's 2 teams that are – Georgia killed them. They don't want to lose. They're going to be back home for homecoming. They're going to have, they're going to be ready for revenge. And Missouri lost at home. So it's going to be a fun game. But you look, South Carolina, the bye. Then we go to Athens, Tennessee, Florida, at Arkansas. I mean, it's tough in the SEC, man.
Every week is like every week you're playing a top 25 team, basically.
Okay, so I will tell you, I didn't get to tell you who I got to meet at the game Saturday.
Okay, who'd you meet?
Former Missouri quarterback James Franklin.
Yeah.
Who went and played in the CFL and was real successful. Not only did he come over so I get my picture, he spent 15 minutes there talking to me about his new brand he's created to help with youth. And I always loved him. He was at Missouri. In 2013, he was banged up by injury a couple of times, and Matty Mock had to fill in for him at times. But Missouri went 12-2 that year, mostly because of James Franklin, lost in the SEC East Championship game, and that if they would have won that, they would have played for a national championship time. They lost to Auburn, but at the time were ranked 5th in the country. And James Franklin was the guy. Found out from him Saturday the reason he retired from the CFL because he refused to get vaccinated.
Good for him.
Did not want them making those choices for him.
Wow.
After the game, he posted on Instagram about the struggle about coming back to Missouri and why. Because he said, everyone is so hard on this Brady Cook kid, and it pains me because that's what I went through.
Yeah.
He goes, I thought I was, the guy in Missouri, but you would never know it going to the games and walking around. Everyone booed or everyone wanted me to be replaced by Matty Mock. He goes, you don't know what that feels like. He goes, for the last 6 years since graduating, he goes, I've only been back twice. He goes, and I, as a young man, had created all these demons in my head about no one liked me. He goes, and realized a lot of it was self-inflicted. He said it was healthy for me to come back and be with the fans and hear how they're doing and how they're supporting Brady. And it was really cool to see that from him because it helps you realize as a fan you take it so serious. We're still dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yep.
And we need to be mindful of that. And my support of Brady Cook has never wavered.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, we do take sports too seriously. We get too wrapped up in it. And we forget, what we're doing to these players, to these kids, to the coaches. We're putting so much pressure on them. But that's the way it is in America today. Sports has become way too important. And that coming from a couple of big, huge sports guys, right?
Correct. I'm going to get an IV after this just to get over the weekend that I had with Mizzou and, Buffalo and Pick'em. We won't talk about that. But hey, a good thing that took place this weekend for Missouri football. It's not the Missouri Tigers, but the Chiefs. Another tough matchup. Vikings are, even though their record doesn't show it, the Vikings are tough, and they gave the Chiefs all they wanted. But the Chiefs hold on 27-20. And hey, it doesn't feel like it, Chris. The Chiefs are 4-1 and they're first place in the AFC right now.
Yeah, we said it last week. Last year I gave up on the Chiefs. because they were in all those close games against bad teams and they barely would find a way to win. Then they go on to win the Super Bowl, and I'd given up on them like, 3/4 of the way through the season, but here they're doing it again. Does this mean they're going to win the Super Bowl? No, but does it mean they might have a chance? Probably.
Oh, sure.
Although I don't know if anybody's going to beat San Francisco this year. That 49ers team is just great.
Yeah, they're special indeed. But hey, over the next 3 weeks, starting with Thursday night, gets pretty easy for the Chiefs. I mean, they're at home Thursday against the Donkeys. Then they are at home next week at 3:25 on Sunday against the Chargers. And then the very next week, they go to the Donkeys to play them at 3:25. So 2 out of 3 weeks, they play the Denver Donkeys.
Yeah, and Denver is bad.
Oh.
They're bad this year, horrible bad. Even with Sean Payton as their head coach.
What
man.
was Russell Wilson meaning when he said, let's ride? Let's ride what, into the cellar of the division?
Man. And did you see, Sean Payton was yelling at Russell Wilson this last week. They're not getting along too well either. So, yeah, hopefully that'll keep going for a while.
But it's funny, Sean Payton made the mistake of doing the unspoken rule of do not in the NFL, and that was throwing another coach under the bus with Nathaniel Hackett with his job last year with the Broncos.
Yeah.
And the Jets and Broncos got to play. We saw who won that game, and so interesting and a little bit of karma there for Sean Payton. But at 1-4, the Broncos look real bad.
Really bad, and I thought the only team maybe that was worse than them was the Raiders, and the Raiders went on, Monday night. So my picks are horrible, man.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing.
It's always hard to say, and it's going to be harder this year than ever before because the NFL is so competitive, with the exception of just a couple teams. All right, so pick 'em Week 5 results. I had the results. It looks like Tom and Michelle back in first place.
Yep.
Second place is Sierra, and you're in third. But for the week, the Kitchens took first. Sierra was 1 point behind them. And Kev and Megan, believe it or not, tied for third place this week with 54 points. But that week stunk, man.
Yeah, it was not good. And it's funny watching because, Kevin is doing really good in his overall picks. He's picked a lot of them right. But when you in the Confidence League, you got to, assign a point to each one. And if you don't do the points right, sometimes it doesn't matter how many you get right. So.
Yeah, I noticed last week that I had 2 more wins than you.
Yeah.
But my points were way less than yours.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of weird.
You take some risks there. All right, so high school-wise, real quick, you could check out our high school football recap show on my professional Facebook, William Holtz Lake TV. We put that on there each week. We'll go over all Lake area schools, but Camdenton, a little closer than I thought against Hillcrest.
Yeah, that was an interesting start, but they've got the huge game this week against Lebanon. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, they beat Hillcrest 35-14 on their homecoming. They improved to 6-1. They're going to be at Lebanon, as you alluded to, Friday night. Lebanon 7-0. Looking really good. Camdenton going to have to play their best. And how about the Osage Indians, winners of 2 in a row? They won at Boonville, 31-16, Chris, but they got a tough one Friday at the Eagles from Southern Boone.
6-1 Southern Boone, and Coach Shannon Jolly thinks Southern Boone is just about as good as Blair Oaks this year. That's a real even. So it's going to be a tough one. Talking to every coach, they think they got a chance to go and win that one. Hopefully they do. But Osage has won 3 of their last 4, so they're on the right track.
Yeah, that's a big-time game for both of those teams Friday. Hey, wanted to tell you guys real quick, there is a resurfacing project that just began on Monday, and it's going to be a long one.
Yeah, look at this. First routes to be resurfaced, routes RA, HH, AA, and OO. And once those are done, as weather allows, the contractor will move on to remaining routes. But this is a $10 million contract, resurfacing more than 96 miles of road on 14 routes in Morgan, Benton, Miller, and Camden counties. So get ready for a little delay on some of those side roads.
And it says all work is anticipated to be completed by November 1st of 24, meaning we're like a 13-month project. And I don't know if that means ongoing. It says on all routes, 1 lane will remain open during the resurfacing. And I'm like, does that mean we're going to be running into those pilot car situations for the next 13 months everywhere around the Tri-County area?
That's what it means. And again, that's RA, HH, AA, and OO is what they're working on. So.
All right, very good. So be on the lookout for that. Want to remind everybody to catch Weekend at the Lake with David Leatherberry every Thursday through Sunday, just for another couple of weeks. You can catch all upcoming events at funlake.com/events. Don't miss Jonathan Hartenstein with Lake Ozark Real Estate on this week's COMC Community Spotlight with Uncle Chris. Of course, our coaches show, Par Pitch, Shannon Jolly on with Uncle C again this week. Both winners. I bet they were a lot of fun.
They were.
And then we'll have California at Eldon this Friday night right here on Lake TV, the COMC pregame show at 6:30, kickoff set for 7. Until next week, my friends from Slumberland at the Lake, this is Uncle Chris. I'm Wild Will. We will see you then.